Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2015, and Joe Turner and myself, Judy Meyer, are talking to Alex Pifer. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Pifer.
Oh, Pifer. How do you spell it?
P as in Paul, I, F as in Frank, E-R.
Okay, and Alex, is that your full name?
No, that's the abbreviated version. My full name is Alexanne, but I only am called that when I'm in trouble.
I understand that. Well, Alex, where did you start off your life? And if you wouldn't mind telling us maybe what year?
Oh, I don't mind telling you the year. 1943, September 22nd. I was born in Terre Haute, Indiana. And my mother and father, my father was going through medical school. My mother was a nurse, and she was working to help put him through medical school. So my brother and I lived with my grandparents.
Oh?
And they would come, my parents would come every weekend because the working and everything, they would have to get a babysitter, and so it was easier for us to live with our grandparents.
In Indiana?
In Indiana, in a little town called Jasonville. It's about 28 miles from Terre Haute. And then after my father, well, it was very different then as far as residency and internship, but he went to St. Joseph, Missouri.
Okay.
And then when I was in 6th grade, my brother in 4th grade, we went to live with them.
In St. Joseph?
In St. Joseph, Missouri. That's
Home of the
correct.
Pony Express?
Home of the Pony Express, you got it. That's right. So that's basically that, and then I went to college at Central Methodist College.
And where's that?
That's in Fayette, Missouri. It's about 28 miles from Columbia, north and a little bit west.
Okay, and what did you major in?
I majored in physical education with a minor in social studies and an almost minor in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
A couple hours short.
Oh, I see. So what was your intention when you went to college then?
Well, I knew from probably 6th grade on I wanted to teach. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to teach, but I just knew that I wanted to teach. And I had some teachers in high school that were very influential in my life. One of them was my physical education teacher, and the other one was a social studies teacher.
Oh, I see.
So when I got to college, and you have to declare a major.
Yes.
Unlike nowadays where you can go 4 years and maybe not have a major, but at that point in time you had to declare a major pretty, within the first semester. So I decided it was physical education, and I had decided also that I wanted to teach at the secondary level.
Okay. And did that happen for you?
It did.
And how did that happen?
Well, I went to Central Methodist for 4 years, and then in the spring, when everybody's getting ready to apply for jobs, I was from the western side of the state, so I didn't know very much about St. Louis, but I knew a lot of people from St. Louis at Central, so I asked, said, what are some of the school districts? And they gave me names, and so sent applications in and came down and interviewed. And
why did you decide on St. Louis since you never have been in St. Louis? Or had you been in St. Louis?
No, I hadn't. I just wanted to see what the other side of the state was like.
Oh, okay.
So it came in, and I ended up getting a job. Taught at Holman 3 hours, and at the high school 2 hours, at the old place, before they tore down the high school across from Northwest Plaza. And so I teach 3 hours at the middle school, well, it was called junior high then.
Mm-hmm.
Junior high, and then walk up 300 or 400 yards and go to the high school and teach 2 classes.
And how were the gym classes set up? Were they all girls that you had?
They were all girls. Everybody wore a uniform.
What was the uniform like for the girls?
Ugly. The kids thought it was kind of like, it was a one piece with bloomers and buttoned up, and nobody liked it.
And that was mandatory?
Yes,
Did they have to buy it?
they did.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, times have changed.
Yes.
And so anyway, I taught the first year there, and then Mr. Bulick, who was the principal, came to me and he said, well, what would you think about teaching social studies and physical education for the next year? It was going to be, the Heights was getting ready to open, Pattonville Heights. So I said, well, I'll think about it. So I said, if I can teach the classroom classes first and have an hour so I change my clothes, because at that time it was very formal, you wore skirts or dresses.
The teachers?
Teachers, yeah, and the kids. And then when you went outside, if you were teaching physical education, if you went into the hall, you never went in your shorts, you used a wraparound skirt.
Oh, my.
So it was much more formal than it is now, because I think now pretty much anything goes. So anyway, it worked out. I taught social studies and
3 classes of social
I
studies?
taught 2 classes and the rest physical education. And
At the Heights?
At the Heights.
And where is the Heights?
the Heights is on Fifi Road, and it's where, I think, was it Maryland Heights? There was a high school there. I don't know, it was up on the hill.
Okay.
And I can remember I had Mr. Kavanaugh as my supervising principal, and now they would be considered very unorthodox methods of teaching, but the idea is to get the kids to learn. So, like if I would have a squirt gun, and if the kids didn't answer the questions right, I'd shoot them.
Oh, we better not put that in.
Yeah. Well, those were years and years ago. And now I wouldn't even be hired. I would have been fired for many things I did. But at that time, you did a lot of things like that. And anyway, it ended up. It was very educational for me. I can remember the first time I was observed. They have to do so many observations of you teaching. Mr. Kavanaugh came in, and I was so nervous.
And then he was observing you in social studies?
In social studies.
Okay.
And he came in, and I was sitting down at my desk, and I never got up. I just sat, down, stayed down, and was teaching and stuff. And when they go over the review with you, he said, well, have you thought about using the chalkboard and everything? And I said, yes. And I couldn't tell him. I was so nervous. My knees were knocking that I couldn't stand up. That was the only reason why. Years later, I did tell him that. He thought that was one of the funniest things that had ever happened. But anyway, it was a good experience to be in the classroom. I benefited from it, I think.
Now, actually, the Heights in Pattonville High School now, it's not really Bridgeton, is it?
Actually, you're right, it's not. St. Anne would be, no, the high school would be in Maryland Heights.
Yes.
Right.
But you are actually a Bridgeton resident, correct?
That is correct.
Have you how long have you been a Bridgeton resident?
I moved here in '65, and I lived in St. Anne for 2 years, and then I went to graduate school at Indiana University and got my master's in physical education. And then I had several options whether to come back or not, but it's always easier to go back to where you know people. So I came back. Plus, I was guaranteed a job at the high school teaching physical education, and I got to sponsor the cheerleaders besides.
You did what?
I got to be the sponsor of the cheerleaders.
Oh, how did you get that? Did you have any knowledge on cheerleading?
Oh, just from observation. And I started with the junior varsity. And so that was a good, breaking in process. And when you're teaching and doing activities, it kind of monopolizes your life. But it was fun.
You mean like outside of school hours?
Yes. Like school would be out, and then you would go, cheer. They'd go cheer. And then maybe there'd be a tournament, and we'd cheer in the afternoon, and then leave and go eat, and then go back for night sessions. Yeah. So there was a lot of time away, a lot of time with the kids, and it was fun though.
Did you get to pick the cheerleaders? Did you choose them?
I was involved in that. That's one of my least favorite things to do because Dr. Glore always said, he was one of my later principals, I always I wanted everybody to make it. And I remember one time we had some people trying, I was real close, and I asked him, could we add 2 more? And he said, no, we can't add, because of the cost of the uniforms.
Oh.
That was the problem. So anyway, but we had a lot of kids, and in the winter time you would divide up, and part would go to wrestling tournaments and part would go to basketball. So, and then when there wasn't anything, where you were divided, they would cheer together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Besides, then, how long were you a cheerleading coach?
oh, that's a good question. I was just asked that the other day. I started in '68, and I'm not very good with remembering the years, but I went for a long, long time. I know I did the '70s and the early '80s.
Okay.
And then I got out for a year or two, and then I went back in. And then I got out, and then I went back in, and I did freshman. That was interesting, to say the least. But in between all that, then I was coaching.
Coaching what?
Coaching track and field, cross country.
Oh my.
I started both of the programs at
You
Pattonville.
did. And there again, let me ask, how did you have the expertise to coach these two?
I probably didn't. I was on the ground floor when everybody else was learning, and I went to a lot of coaching clinics.
Oh, I see.
And so when everybody's learning, you're all on pretty equal, plane. So that was it. And I learned you learn by doing and making a few mistakes and learning from people that, have done it before you and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of camaraderie that develops with the kids you're coaching, and you form lifetime friendships.
Well, I know my granddaughter has done track and cross country in middle school now, and there's boys and girls. Did you have boys and girls then?
At that time, no. In fact, I didn't even get paid for doing it.
Oh my goodness.
No, we didn't get paid in the beginning. And then, I don't remember the year, but, eventually we got paid.
Oh my.
So
Was there very much interest in track then?
we started out just small, very small. In fact, this one girl, I run into her at Schnucks every now and then now, and she was one of my sprinters. And to get her to come, I'd have to go pick her up.
From where?
From her house. And so, but then it started developing, and a lot more people were coming out. And we had a pretty good sized, group of kids that would come out.
Did you do events other than running? Did you do hurdles or?
Well, when we divided up the responsibilities, I ended up coaching distance runners and the jumping events. And my assistant coach, which was Charlie Lynn, who was the head football coach, he did the sprints and the throwing events.
Okay.
And we really worked well together. I think we complemented one another as far as our talents were concerned. And I learned a lot from him about coaching, and he was very, very valuable.
What else did you do? Or I should say, did you do any other activities during your years at Pattonville High School?
Yes. Let's see. Actually, I coached a powder puff. Well, it wasn't a powder puff. It was a flag football team. We played one game. I think it was against Coriezu. And football, when you use flags, it's not supposed to be
Rough
or tough.
Now, is this, when you say flag football, was this boys or girls?
It's girls.
Oh.
But girls are very competitive.
Yes,
so
they can be.
there were a lot of bruises.
Oh,
and
my.
We only had that once, and then I did an archery team once. We went against McClure High School.
Archery.
Yeah, we did archery. We competed in archery. Then let's see, what did I go to? I did tennis.
You did tennis.
I did tennis for, I think, 10 or 11 years. And again, I had the basics, but I refined it by going to a lot of coaching clinics. And
Where did you find these clinics?
mine were in Hilton Head,
Oh my goodness.
South Carolina.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
And went through Vandermeer, Tennis University one, and they have different clinics, like doubles clinics, just basics. And
Were
stuff.
these in the summer or during school times?
Some were in the summer, and some I had to take leave to, like for 3 or 4 days to go to. So it was good because, I can remember when I took Tennis University 1, I had no idea there were going to be people that had been ranked in the world in tennis.
Oh my.
And then there was me. And it was like, I didn't even know what they were talking about. They would get up, they'd say, go up and do a split step and do blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, oh. So I'd get to the back of the line and I'd watch everybody else. And then, you know, so you have to get better because you couldn't get any worse.
Did you play tennis yourself?
Some. But there's like learning the basics and teaching the basics and the strategy and who can do what. You know, some people are good practice people and not so good when they play, and some are not very good practice, and yet when it comes to competition, you know, they step it up.
Well, we were talking about where you were living. I think we kind of got off the track there. You said you went out of town for a couple of years and got your master's?
For 1 year.
Oh, for 1 year. And then when you came back, where did you live then?
I lived in Park Orleans.
Oh, okay, off Natural Bridge?
Off Natural Bridge.
Is that still there?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's plowed under by the airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's plowed
okay.
under. That was fun. There were like 3 or 4 of us at one point in time living there. But it was fairly, you know, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and a very nice place at that time to live.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, when some people were getting married and some people decided they wanted to live by themselves, so I made a decision. It was between buying a horse, because I wanted to do some riding.
Okay.
And had some riding lessons.
Oh.
Or living in an apartment by myself. So for one of the few times the common sense thing came out that I did rent the apartment instead of buying the horse.
And where was this apartment then?
Carrollton Village Apartments.
Oh, okay.
Off of Natural Bridge.
Again on Natural Bridge.
Right, and that's still there. The airport didn't get to that. And then in 77.
You didn't have any roommates with you then?
No.
But at Park Orleans you shared with someone?
Yeah, they started out, I think there were 2 or 3, and at one point we had 4.
Oh.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, you know, that's fun when you're young. Now, it wouldn't be so much
Right,
fun as you
yes.
get older.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, but in 77 then I decided I wanted to buy a house.
Okay.
So, I found a house in Carrollton on Parlier.
Parlier.
Uh-huh.
Now where was, because it's not there anymore, is
It's
it?
not there. When you come down Bonfils, you take a left, it was the first house on the left.
Oh,
Yeah.
how nice.
And it was nice because I had taken my car, that's when I was into running, and I'd taken my car and marked off different, like 1.5 miles, 2.5, 3 miles. You know, you go up Gist Road and around, go back through that other part of Carrollton where the Carrollton Club was.
Yes.
And that. And it was just, there were good people in Carrollton. I mean, one of my former students was married and lived across the street from me. And, you know, you were always seeing people you either had in class or had worked with.
And that was not an uncomfortable situation to be there in the community where, you know, of students?
No.
Wonderful.
No.
Wonderful.
The only time it was not comfortable was when they TP'd my house.
Well, who would do that?
I don't know for sure, but I had my ideas.
They did it because they liked you.
I hope, yeah. So they would come and TP regularly. And then one time I remember I opened the door to go to school and I looked out and I had probably 500 forks, white plastic forks. They fork your yard.
Forks?
Yes, stuck in my yard.
Oh, I never heard of that one.
And then another time I had, let's see, a toilet, a big turkey shoot sign, and about 25 political signs they'd taken from other people's yards and put them in my yard.
And this was a sign of affection?
I think.
Did anyone ever look sheepish at school?
Well, you can usually figure out who it was. And I don't get mad, I just get even, so.
Did you do any recreational activities in Bridgeton? Did you use, you know, the community center or swimming pool or anything like that?
Well, we played on volleyball league in the community center. At that time, though, they went to different elementary schools and you would play.
Oh.
We played at Carrollton, we played at, it was called, was it Bridgeton? Bridgeton, right on Natural Bridge, it's gone as well.
Uh-huh.
And then I played softball at BMAC.
Oh, uh-huh.
That was fun because there was a lot of friends from school and so forth that played together. And we would play teams that former students were on, and a lot of times we beat them, which they didn't like at all. But that was great. It was fun, a lot of good times there.
How long were you in your house on part of the year?
From 77 to 01.
And did you move because of the airport buyout?
I did. I was the last person left on my street.
Really?
I really didn't want to go, obviously. And it's sad to see that, you know, people that you liked and they were good for the community, you know, have to leave. It was very sad.
Yes.
And so I decided I'm going to stay until they kick me out. Well, they were the city was in the process, city of St. Louis. And so then but the problem was I was retiring that year. So I was retiring, I was being kicked out of my house, I had to find another place to live, and I wanted to continue to live in Bridgeton.
You did.
And at that point in time, there were I didn't know if I looked at houses in Harmon Estates. And
Beautiful area.
Yes, and then I found the villas that they built over by Hellebusch Park.
Oh, what is the name?
Park Place
Oh,
Villas, and
yes.
then there's one street that has houses, it's Park Place Estates.
okay.
So I looked at that and I thought, that's where I want to go. And when I was sitting down with the realtor trying to personalize what I was buying, then it got to the point, do I want a house or do I want a villa? And I really, I like to do yard work, but then I got thinking, I'm not going to get any younger, I'm not going to get older. So I decided I'd go ahead and go with the villa, and I have no regrets.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Met some very, very nice people. In fact, a lot of people that moved into the villas were Carrollton residents that needed a place to go and wanted to stay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right.
Now, because you were a Bridgeton resident, did you serve on any of the Bridgeton commissions?
Yes, I was on the parks, and I was on special events, and now I'm on the senior citizen.
Okay, so you still are presently involved
Right.
with it.
Right.
Now, I do remember a couple of things since my two children went to Pattonville while you were there, and I do remember that at one time you hosted a foreign exchange student, is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you tell us how that came about?
Right. Let's see. Well, the first exchange student I hosted was a Japanese girl, and actually she was in the process, they were moving her to Ohio because it didn't work out with the family.
So you weren't like from start to finish with her?
Not with her. And so she came, I think it was January, and she left in June. And we did a lot of things together.
Well, wait a minute, how did you come by bringing her with you then?
Okay, what happened was, actually it was the day before I was taking kids from Pattonville skiing.
Skiing?
Yeah.
You were allowed to take kids skiing?
Well, it was not sponsored by the school, it was Pifer sponsored, so, yeah. And nowadays with liability, I doubt seriously if you could do it, but at that time, it was chaperone, supervised, they had to
Did
take
you
lessons.
use the school buses?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
No, we rented Mid-American buses.
Oh, okay.
Nice buses.
Uh-huh.
And we'd leave on Friday about 4 or 5 o'clock and get back Sunday night about 11. And the deal was, I had meetings with the parents and meetings with the kids, and they signed a contract basically saying that the kids would be in school on Monday, because I didn't want anybody using that as an excuse not to go to school.
I see.
And also, I would not take anybody with me on the trips that had been in trouble at school. They had been suspended or whatever, they didn't qualify. They disqualified themselves from the trip because, when you leave, you don't want to take people that could cause problems. I mean, kids are kids, but if they're supervised and you tell them what your expectations are, they'll pretty much follow through.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had...
Did you do that more than once?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did it several years. That's how I learned to ski. It was terrible equipment. But, it was the old kind of skis that strap around your ankle, and when you fall and they come off, they whack you. And-
I'm not a skier, so
Yeah, and then we started, that place that we had gone to called Majestic, it burnt down.
really. Oh my, where was
And
it?
It was in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Oh,
So we went to Alpine Valley, which is, it's still there and was a much nicer place. And it was good because the kids were introduced to skiing and some of them kept up with it. And then I also took adult group, I think twice,
wow.
and introduced, them to skiing. And that was neat because some of them have stayed with it forever. So, and that's what's, good about having people have new experiences. Sometimes they pick it up as a hobby.
All right, so we're gonna get back to the Japanese girl. What was her name?
Her name was Sako.
That was her first name.
Yes.
And how old was she?
She was 18, I believe. And what happened was they brought her into my classroom. She was we had just changed semesters. And she was supposed to be in my class and hadn't showed up yet.
What class would that have been? Gym class?
Outdoor adventure activities. I'll explain that later.
Okay.
And so she came in with the supervisor and they said, they had papers for me to sign. I said, well, what's going on? She said, well, it's not working out. We couldn't find any place for her to stay here. So she's going to Ohio. I go, Ohio?
Yeah, that's kind of a big difference, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So anyway, I asked her, I said, do you like dogs and cats? Because I have one of each. And she goes, yes. And I said, will you teach me Japanese? She goes, yes. So I said, okay. I said, let me think about it because I didn't want to make a spur of the moment decision.
Yeah.
So I went down to the guidance counselor who worked with foreign exchange students, Jean Harmon, and I talked to her and she said, she's wonderful. It's not her fault. And she said, I think it would be a good idea if you could do it. So I called him back and I said, bring her over.
You didn't have to fill out forms and,
No, this was like an emergency thing.
I see.
So, anyway, I said, I won't be home till late Sunday night, so bring her over Monday. So she came with 2 big suitcases, and I had three bedrooms, but I had her room to be was the junk room. So I said, you're gonna have to help me. We'll get it all cleaned out in a day or two. So anyway, she slept on the pull-out couch, and that was fine.
was her English good?
Her English was pretty good, but she was still learning.
Okay.
And she was very quiet, very respectful. Of course, I just tease the heck out of people, so you can bring them out of that shyness a little bit. And it was sad when she left. I took her down and she caught the train. They were taking the exchange students on a trip, and then they would go home from there. And I didn't think that it would be that sad, but it was pretty sad. So then I decided that I would apply for a kid from the
Because this relationship and opportunity went so well
Yes.
that you thought, I think I'll do this
I
again.
think I'll do it again, try it again. So I saw, they have all the list of the ones that are available. So
They have actual individual people?
Yes, and you can select from a country or, and the person.
Wow.
And so I saw this girl from New Zealand. I thought, well, that sounds good. We'll try another country. And so Libby came, and because they are on the other half of the equator, their seasons are opposite of ours. So her brother was getting married, and so he was getting married in Canada. So the whole family was in Canada. And she came in January and stayed with me for a year.
A whole year?
Yes.
And how old was she when she
She
came?
was 18.
So had she actually graduated from high school where she was from?
She had graduated from high school, and they were holding a spot for her at the university. So this was, which I was not aware of at the time. So in her mind, this is going to be a really fun year.
This wasn't really like a real education?
No, she wanted to have a fun, playful year. And she was a very good student. But she was also, I called New Zealand. I can't tell you how many times I talked to her mom. Well, what should I do? I felt
This
bad.
was before cell phones, wasn't it?
Yes, it was before cell phones.
I can't, or emails?
We didn't. No, nobody emailed at that time. It was 93.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So anyway, she and
And
I.
she spoke English.
Very well, yes, the British English with a very much of an accent, and half the time I couldn't understand what she was saying. Of course, she couldn't understand what we were saying, and we teased her about her accent, of course. And anyway, she was a challenge, but she was, I mean, a really good kid, but she was just here to have a good time. So she went to school every day. And
She did.
She went to school every day. She was very good in her classes. She helped with the drama productions and things like that, and the all-school play. And while she was here, because I feel it's important for kids from a foreign country to get to see as much of the United States as possible. And in 1 year's time, we went to 32 states.
Oh my, how could you manage that?
Well,
How'd you do
every
that?
time we had time off, we went someplace.
And did she like doing that?
Oh, she loved it. People from New Zealand, they are out, I mean, they're travelers, big travelers. Now, she's living in England now. And I went back to New Zealand twice, once to visit her and her family, and then I went back to her wedding.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. She's got a little girl that just turned 5.
How old is she now, do you think?
Oh, golly. She's got to be in her late 30s,
Yes. Okay.
maybe 40.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
And the Japanese girl?
She's a little bit older, so she's got to be, gosh, I didn't even think about that, because she looks exactly the same. She's got to be in her late 30s or early 40s.
Did you have any other foreign exchange students?
No, I was exhausted after that. I was tired.
When you host a foreign exchange student, I really don't know that much about it. I hate to ask you personally, but just in the interest of finding out, do they give you any kind of allowance because you're feeding the person and?
No.
No.
The only thing you do get I think it's $50 a month deduction on your taxes, your federal taxes, which I didn't even know until somebody told me. But yeah, and I mean, it was like, we cook sometimes, but a lot of times we ate out. And we went, Casa Gallardo.
Yes, sure.
Saco, when we went there a lot.
My daughter worked there for a while.
Oh, did she?
Yes. So we went there a lot.
Right, and they had, when the last time we were going there and she was leaving, they all knew she was leaving, they gave her one of the shirts, brand new shirt, still in the plastic. She'd always get a taco salad, and they marked out taco and called it a Saco salad.
Oh, how?
And sang to her and everything, and then when I got my, at the end of the year on your American Express, you get a summary of how much you spent.
Yes.
It was $1,000 at that one restaurant. So, we ate out a lot.
Yes. Yeah, that was our go-to place when our daughter was a hostess there.
Yeah, the food was very good.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good, and it was just a nice place to go. Mm-hmm. And we had a great time, but I just didn't realize I was spending quite that much money.
But so after Libby, then, you decided that maybe you wouldn't try to host another student.
Not an exchange student.
It's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment, and as you get older, you're. I mean, I was 50 when Libby came, and I was still young enough that I still didn't know I was old, So, but as you get older, you kind of things change in your life, and you're kind of preparing for retirement, and so I decided it was best not to.
So what have you been doing in your retirement?
Well,
And how many years, may I ask, have you been retired?
I retired in 2001.
Okay, and this is 15,
Right. So it's been a while
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple of years I subbed.
Oh, you did?
I did.
At the high school?
At the high school, I did, and I did middle school too, once or twice, but mainly at the high school. And I've been traveling. I mean, I do a lot of volunteer things.
Where?
I volunteer at my church. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I have a walking group.
And what church is that?
That's Arlington Methodist on top of McKelvey Hill. And we, let's see, the youngest person now is 70. I'm not the youngest anymore. And the oldest person, she came back the other day, she had fallen in her home. She's 94.
Oh, my
And then we
goodness.
have a 91-year-old man that comes.
Wow. Now you say a walking group, is that indoor or outdoor?
It's indoors, we have a gym, and I do Leslie Sandstone tapes. Now, you have the option of doing them or not doing them, the tape. And then now we're doing some hand weights afterwards. And then 20 times around the gym is a mile.
Oh.
And then we go eat breakfast.
And then you go eat breakfast.
That's right. So,
And did they pay for this?
no, this is free. A lot of times people don't make a commitment, a serious commitment, if there's not money involved. And we have had, at one point in time, we were up to like 25 people, but due to, well, we've had some older people pass away and move away. So we're probably down to less than 20 now.
Do they have to be members of Arlington Methodist?
Anybody can come.
How nice.
Yeah.
Well, here at the community center, in this very room we are in, I actually teach yoga 3 mornings a week. And after I'm done with yoga, they have a senior exercise group.
Oh, do they?
Yes, and there's 2 different teachers, I believe one on Monday and Friday and one that does the Wednesday. And apparently it's very popular and there's no cost to the people.
Oh, that's good.
And apparently they really enjoy it, and they use a variety of things, as you say, maybe a stick, and start off with a chair and do a lot of things.
Right.
So I hope that, more and more the seniors are recognizing how important it is to be physically active.
Well, I know the people in my group know that if they don't stay active, then they're finished. And I mean, they're wise enough to know that because they've seen it. And as people age, you can't go as fast, but you can go. And like some of the things we worked on, just standing up from a chair, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're in your mid-80s or 90s, it makes a difference.
Well, now it looks like you've been to Florida because of your shirt and your tan. Did you go to Florida recently?
I did. We went the end of January and stayed till the end of the second week of March.
Well, you certainly missed a lot of very cold weather.
I am
this
so
winter.
sorry about that.
Not so much snow, but a lot of very cold temperatures. Well, did your walking class go on during that time?
Yes. There's about 2 or 3 people that take over, and they kind of do basically the same routine. But we have a different, like Monday we have one tape, and Wednesday a different tape, and then Friday a different tape. And so they do that, but they, if they want to adjust it, they can. I think from what I heard when I went back Wednesday that the membership was done a little bit. It's kind of like when the teacher's away.
Yeah.
People, do spit bloods. Those type of things. But anyway, it was nice to get back and see everybody. Some other volunteer things I do. I go into the city and read. It's
Really?
called Reading is Fundamental.
Oh.
And
How did you get started with that?
a friend of mine that I taught with, Alice Powell, was doing it, and then when I retired, she got me into it, and I've gotten some other people. In fact, I have one of my former students into it, and so we have our last school starting Monday. We go 3 Mondays in a row, and we go in, and each person, like whatever class you have, you read 15 minutes, and then you take them down to the library, and they get to select a book. And this is a federally funded program, and they're paperback books. And some of the teachers in the various schools we've gone to said, some of the kids would never own a book if it weren't for this program. And it's fun because, you can really get into these books, big time. And
Do you get to choose what you read to them?
yes, yes.
And how do you select what you read? Do you ask librarians or somebody?
I've asked people that have done it before, what do you recommend, what works for you? I've asked elementary teachers that are retired, what works for you? And I felt like there's one I read to the kids that they absolutely love. It's called Wayside School. And there's several books in the series, and it's about a school that was built. It was supposed to be 30 floors this way, but they got mixed up and they put 30 floors this way. And it's about the kids that go to school on the 30th floor, and there's no elevator. And so it's really
Can
fun.
they visualize that?
Yeah, well, what I do, I tell them, I said, now I'm going to read these, because there are pictures. I can't show those kids pictures. A lot of the books, I show them the pictures. And I'll say, okay, the one's about this original teacher, and she doesn't like kids, but she likes apples. And so what she does, she gets them, when they do anything, like if they sneeze and somebody says, God bless you, or whatever, she wiggles her right ear, then her left ear, and sticks out her tongue and turns them into apples. And so it's funny when I go into the whole routine of doing that. You'll be reading, you'll look up, and the kids are trying to wiggle their ears.
How old are these? Are they preschool? Or?
We do kindergarten through 5th or 6th.
Wow.
And I read that book to the older kids.
Oh.
And then there's some younger kids, and like we read like special ed kids too. So you have to find a book that would be appropriate for them. So, but it's fun.
And this is all volunteer?
It's all volunteer. And the lady that's in charge of our group, she's done it 40-some years. So it's been going on for a long time. And let's see, I also work at Wild Bird Rehab.
What's that?
I take care of baby birds.
You do?
Feed them, clean them.
Where's this located?
It is located on Midland, just down from the American Legion.
Oh, I heard that there was a bird, you call it a bird sanctuary? Or?
It's called Wild Bird Rehab.
Okay.
Yeah. And they survive, they get no money. I mean, it's all based upon donations. And they really, really do a good job, because I've learned so much from my supervisor, and there's still more to learn. And what's really neat is when you see the baby birds, they go from when you come in, like there's the nursery, they go from the nursery. If they're injured, we have a emergency room where they keep the sick ones. And then we have another room where they're getting ready to go outside. And then we have aviaries outside. And then this one lady's in charge of releasing them. What they do, a lot of birds are territorial, so you have to take them back to the area where they came from. But if they're not territorial, she takes them to cemeteries, because people won't bother them there.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's a very interesting fact.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
It's very interesting. This year, for the first time in January, after I retired, we went eagle watching.
Oh.
And we went to Eagle Days on the Chain of Rocks Bridge.
Oh, that's neat.
It was really nice. So do you ever get eagles or birds of prey?
No, we can't accept birds of prey. We're not set up for that. They go down by Six Flags to the raptor place down there.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about owls?
Owls have to go down there also. Yeah. There's some, I'm trying to think of the bird. It's a water bird. It's not a duck or anything like that, but it eats fish, and sometimes we get that because it's not a raptor. But basically, it's songbirds that we get. We get nighthawks. Nighthawks are really neat. And I've gained a great appreciation. I know a lot of people don't like pigeons.
Yeah. But
baby pigeons are golden in color, and they're really sweet. And doves are really sweet.
Now, how did you get involved with that? Because you did say you're a dog person, right?
I am a dog person.
Right, I thought that.
I got involved by a teacher from Pattonville, Debbie Hauser, who's been working there for years, and she's a supervisor. I don't work on her shift anymore. I work on Sunday mornings. But I don't know, she mentioned, I went to some training sessions, and then nothing ever happened. Then a few years later, I got involved in it, and I really like it. Except I found, as you get older, like sometimes birds get out. It's like, so you're on your belly going in your cage looking for them, and sometimes they fly and land on your head and so forth. But they're very interesting. Each breed is just, so interesting.
Wonderful. Now, do you still have dogs?
I do. I have 2 dogs, and I've been working, they're 5 years old now, but I've been working with them in training. And the training paid off, because when I went to Florida, many people complimented the dogs and their behavior. They're terriers, so they're kind of on the wild side, can be. And so I've been working really hard with a trainer from Kenilwood, and it's paying off. So I'm not, now, before when I would take them out, I never could predict what would happen, I never knew. Now I feel pretty good about it. I can go out, like a lot of the restaurants in the south and where we were, in Siesta Key and around, if they have outdoor eating, you can take your dog. And so I have this little thing, it's like a trampoline bed, I call it their place, and I put it down, tell them, go to your place, and they get on there and they stay. So you can enjoy your meal, and yet they get the socialization, so.
That's wonderful. Well, we really have enjoyed talking to you, and I'm glad you had a good time this winter. Well, some of us
Thank you.
were rather
I'm sorry you
cold.
had a bad week.
Well, it wasn't bad, but it was cold. And it's been wonderful talking to you. We've learned a lot about all the activities you've been involved with, and I do appreciate you taking so much interest in your students.
I tell you what, that's why you teach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.